So we're going to, just for everyone's joining, we're going to start on top of the hour at 10. It is 12 noon. So what do you think, Richard? Should we make a start?
Yeah, happy to start whenever. Let's kick off and reward those who are on time.
Absolutely. All right, so let's do this. So welcome everyone. My name is Kanayo Eruchalu. I'm the Client Success Director here in Synergy. And today we're here to talk about innovation, but not just for innovation's sake. We're here to explore how you, as an accounting professional, can leverage technology, not just to keep up, but to create space for growth, elevate your performance, and unlock the full potential of your firm. Right? And to help us navigate this transformation, we have none other than Richard Brewin. Richard is a visionary in the accounting industry, and he's here to share his insights on how to adapt, evolve, and lead in this new era. So without further ado, Richard, I think I'm going to pass the mic to you. You take us from here.
Thanks, Kano. Hello, everybody. I don't think I've been called a visionary before, so I'll take that and stick it on my LinkedIn heading. As Kano said, my name is Richard Brewin. I'm Managing Director of Progress BB. I'm an accountant, have been in the profession for 44 years now. Originally trained and qualified with small, medium, national firms, worked all sorts of firms from Big Four down to small local firms. Set up the first of our own firms in 1993 and sold the last of those in 2008. So since then, I've worked with accountants themselves, not on how to be technically better accountants. I'm completely the wrong, I'm by no means the best accountant in the world. I'd be the wrong person to have that conversation. But to talk about how you run your firms, how you run your businesses, and how you can get greater reward from your own firms, and not just in numbers terms, but just in terms of satisfaction and pride and happiness and all the things that maybe as accountants we don't talk enough about, but actually really, really important. So today's topic, as Claire said, is empowering accounting professionals in the age of profession. We'll talk about this roughly for sort of 45 minutes or so there's plenty of time for questions at the end. But please, I'm very happy for it to be a conversation. So if you have any thoughts or questions, if you want to challenge anything that I say, then by all means interrupt me, stick your hand up, put it on the chat, whatever you want to do. Claire will pick those up. The more we can make this a conversation and you don't just have to listen to me droning on, then the more enjoyable it will be. The focus in the title is not on the digital side. We live in a digital age. That it's very important that we operate digital businesses. But the focus really for the next 45 minutes is on those first three words: empowering accounting professionals. Being an accountant is a tough job, and it ain't getting any easier. If I was saying to Kaneo actually before we started that I remember when I was a kid and my mum was doing the laundry. She'd go in the kitchen to do the laundry, and she'd be in there pretty much most of the day. I mean, there were four of us, so there's plenty to do. But she'd be there with a twin tub and something to drain the water off and a big wooden mallet and all the rest of it, things that I'm guessing those uncles are probably too young to remember. But it was a big task. My mum, bless her, is 91 this year, and when she wants to do her washing, she literally pushes a button and then goes away and does something else, and then the washing machine tells her when it's done the job. And when I look at the change over those, 50 years, and then look at how accounting has changed. One of the questions I always have is, how come with all of the technical progression we've seen in accounting, we're going back to a time before the internet, before mobile phones, before any of the smart technology we use, certainly before AI, any of the digital software we use these days, how come we don't just go into the office each day and just push a button? Why do we seem to be as busy as we've always been and as stressed as we've always been? It's partly down to vendors, and we'll talk about that, but a lot of it also comes down to the mindset that we have and the way that we've had to develop it over the years, which is why we'll focus on that empowerment today. So what today is all about is how you can grow your firms, but in a more efficient way, how we can stay ahead of the challenges that face us every day now. It's a rapidly changing world for every sector, but obviously, specifically for ourselves as accountants. And crucially, how we stay in control, or how we regain control. That's one of the big issues that we have now, that every day feels a little bit like a firefight. And when you look at the job that accountants do, I don't think it will ever be a simple job. We deal with important things. We deal with people's lives. We deal with their wealth, with their businesses, with their families. We deal with compliance. It's a very technical job that we do. It's a job that is driven by deadlines, by reporting and filing deadlines. So I don't think it's ever going to be a simple job. But it shouldn't be the chaos that it feels like on occasions, where we go into the office with our plan for the day, and by 10 o'clock in the morning, that plan's completely out the window, and we're being pulled in every single direction. So I'm sure that you will relate to, maybe not quite as dramatic as the image, but you'll relate to that feeling when you get into the office. And why is that? Because in most cases, particularly for those, looking around, I think most of you will be practice owners in your own right. So you started life one day with a vision. There's a reason why you started your own firms. There's something that you wanted to achieve, and you had a plan for doing it. But we've not been able to stay in control of that plan. It's people talk about the first couple of years of a business as being the hardest. In my experience, in reality, when I look back, they were probably the easiest, because you start those first couple of years with a handful of clients, you've got all the energy, all the passion, your service levels are fantastic because you're doing it all yourself. The business grows as a consequence of those high levels of service. And of course, as it grows and as it gets more clients, you go out and you recruit and you start to develop more systems, and you find that you are, whilst the P&L account is looking better and the firm is looking bigger, you are getting more and more frustrated. And one of the things I often hear is people saying, do you know what, it just feels like it was a lot more fun when I was doing it in my back bedroom, or when I was working from the shed, or whatever it may be. Growing a business is a logical thing to do, but because we have yet to find ways of growing them and staying in control, it tends to become more and more of a headache. When I speak with accountants quite often, I think we all have this view that one of the ways to address our problems is to get more clients. But of course, the reality is that more clients can create more headaches for us, particularly if our systems and our processes and our own performance isn't up to speed. Then we're just adding to the problems. So we're going to talk about 5 things today. We're going to talk about this chaos that we find ourselves in every day. We're going to talk about how the landscape has changed, particularly how it's changed. It changed last year, and how it's looking to progress again in 2025. We're going to do something which might seem like going back to basics, but that is sort of the whole point, where we're going to talk about vision and goals, and critically, that piece about refocusing those. Then we'll probably talk about, again, what I think are the 2 big bits today. One is the client management, and the other one is the relationship between your tech and your human side of your business, and how you make the 2 work most effectively together. So we'll cover the first 3 relatively quickly. I want to get onto those conversations on 4 and 5. So when I was putting this together, I didn't know this. I'd heard the quote before: "Freedom is just chaos with better lighting," which I think sums it up, exactly. I didn't realise this Alan Dean Foster was the guy who was the ghostwriter of Star Wars. So I learned something putting this together. So I don't know if there's any Star Wars fans in the audience or not, but I thought that was quite interesting. But we, particularly as accountants, I think we spend an awful lot of time seeking perfection. You know, one of the things that can take stress out of a situation is to recognise that perfection doesn't exist and that chaos certainly does. You know, the whole concept of embracing the chaos. I was reading a book by, I can't remember the chap's name. It's one of the SAS, the SAS guys who are on these sort of TV programs. It was one of those. It's not normally my sort of book, but my daughter bought it for me because she said you'll relate to this. And as I read it, what resonated with me most was this whole concept that within the military, you plan everything to the nth degree. You do all sorts of walkthrough scenarios. You look at it from every different angle. You make sure that before you go on the mission, into battle, whatever it may be, that you've covered every single scenario that you can think of. You've tried and tested everything. You've tested all your systems. You've made sure that everyone knows exactly what they're doing. And the guy who wrote this makes that point and then says, and then you go into battle and it's chaos. It's absolute chaos because, of course, the enemy have not been included in all of your practicing and your training and your plan and all the rest of it. And it never goes to plan. But the fact that you have that plan in the first instance gives you a fallback because you always know what you're trying to achieve. But secondly, if you stress out the moment it doesn't go to plan, then you're on a loser straight away. You have to deal with the situation as it unfolds in front of you. And I think that's a really big point for us as accountants. We all know from our own experience that every day when we go into work, it's not going to go to plan. Something's going to come up that we weren't expecting. A client's going to come in with a different demand. Some records that we were expecting to be in haven't come in. A system's gone down. The internet's not working. A member of staff's off ill. Whatever it may be, we can absolutely guarantee that the days where everything goes smoothly into plan you can count on one hand. What the test for us is not whether things are following the plan that we had that morning, but actually how well we deal with what's in front of us. And I think we lose an awful lot of time by worrying about the fact that we're not following the plan and things aren't going to plan, instead of just, in a sense, just getting on with it. Now, if you just get on with it without a plan, you lack direction, you lack goals, you lack the benchmarking, all the rest of it. If you have a plan, but then deal with what's in front of you, you're in a totally different scenario. And I think it's something to talk about with your teams as well. The moment that things start going wrong is the phrase that we use. Then we start to stress out and we start to worry and we start to think, okay, what should I do and all the rest of it. If we saw it instead as things aren't going wrong, things are just not going how we individually planned them out first thing this morning. They're going this way instead, so let's deal with it. So that the whole concept of embracing the chaos, and we could do an entire session just on this, but the whole concept of embracing the chaos is something very important to consider, to think about how you do it in your firm, to talk to your team about. The reality is, because we think it's just us. We think it's just us having a bad day. We're not very good at what we do. Our competitors are all having great days. No, they're not. They're in the same chaos that we're in, probably worse. So let's talk briefly about what's changed as we start 2025. And I'll go through this quite quickly because you will know this stuff. We know that the competition's changed. The competition for all of us, I think we're all owner managed firms, generally small firms, local firms. So our competition used to be other firms on the high street. It was the other firms in town. It was maybe some of the big boys in the cities trying to come in and nick our bigger clients. But fundamentally, we knew our competition. We saw them. We could walk past their offices. Now, of course, our competition, A, comes from anywhere in the world. B, comes from fintechs and digital companies that don't have any sort of high street presence, maybe aren't even accountants. We now have clients where, in theory at least, most of what we do for them from a compliance point of view, they can do themselves, they can do online, they can do on an app. They're constantly being told when they listen to the radio and watch television that it's so easy. Just click this button and all of a sudden all your bookkeeping's done, all your VAT returns are done, your accounts are filed, your tax returns are filed. And of course, it does raise the question, and we're thinking, well, what does my accountant do then if it's that easy? Because the reality is it isn't that easy, and they won't get it right. But that's not the point. The messaging is that anybody these days can provide clients with the services that traditionally accountants have done. So that's changed the competition. From a regulatory point of view, we are obviously facing increasing regulation. For those of you in the UK, we've got MTD ITSA coming out finally in April next year, so that's a change. We've got a change of government in the UK, which is already showing very significant changes towards things like national insurance structure, towards HR and employment regulations. It's having an impact on confidence. Those of you based in Ireland, the challenges will still be saying, because we're a regulated industry, we are always going to see this sort of these processes come through, these changes come through. But the other thing as well is we're impacted by regulation outside of our sector because because of the tech we're using. We're impacted on regulation now that applies to data security, for instance. So we have to think about, as employers, of course, we have HR regulation. So generally, regulation gets more and more complex every year. Again, in the UK, we've got the deregulation through Brexit, which is a misname. It will just be replaced by other regulation. But as employers, we have to stay on top of this. As firm owners, we have to stay on top of this. So on the one hand, we've thought, we're trying to keep an eye on the competition, but at the same time, we've got governments and regulatory bodies coming in and making our life harder as well. One of the biggest changes is in our clients. It'd be interesting to see how you're experiencing it, but post-COVID, there's definitely been a change in mindset as far as clients are concerned. The expectation of what we can deliver has increased significantly. There is an element, and there does seem to be more and more research which is backing this up now, that people got used during COVID to, in a lot of cases, other people fixing their problems. And we're seeing that now where clients, increasingly are expecting us to sort things out, us to do the things for them, and not necessarily happy to pay the price for that to do so. With the changes in the government, with the changes in people's experience post-COVID, we've got clients now who are thinking a lot more about exit, a lot more about selling their businesses. We've got clients who have a different perspective now on their work-life balance. What was so important to them pre-COVID about their business maybe isn't as important now. Where they've considered they've had a good look at their lives and decided they want to do it in a different way. So they have different needs now. We have the whole issue around let's call it flexible working and the working from home, and how our clients, not just our teams, but our clients' teams are expecting to work in different ways. Clients face the same challenges that we face when it comes to tech. So client demands, client needs are significantly higher than they were 3-4 years ago. Tech, of course, tech will always change, but I think I spoke to a group of accountants at the start of last year and said that I thought that 2024 and 2025 were going to be the pivotal year for accountants. I've not changed my mind on that. I think I'm even more convinced now, because if you look at the relationship that we've had with fintech and how it's worked, and I think the first time we had a computer in the office would be in 1980. The first time we used tax compliance software would have been about 1998. Xero came into the profession in 2007, something like that. So tech has been around for a long, long time. Generally, we have been following the direction that the fintechs have given us. So we have some very big fintechs that have changed a bit over the years, but the first system we used was Solution 6 system. I think they're CCH these days. You've got Digita, you've got Iris, you've got Sage. We've now got Xero, QuickBooks. These are big, big companies with big, big names. And generally, we've had to adapt our accounting firms to their systems. and to the way that they work. And whilst that has worked generally pretty well on the compliance side, most firms I talk to will have had digital software in their clients, for 20, 25, 30 years now. But when you look at how the challenges that it's bringing to us, and particularly as we start to go down this route towards more, I'll call it advisory. I don't like the term because none of us can really nail down what it is, but non-compliance is looking to do more with our clients. And as our clients are looking for us to be more flexible, and our teams are looking for us to be more flexible, and as we ourselves want to be more flexible, increasingly the approach of some of the major fintechs is a problem for us because it's not flexible. And so we find ourselves spending a lot of time these days trying to get our teams to engage in new systems, trying to educate them on new systems, trying to get clients. You take the journey that most of you have been through with your clients when it comes to getting them to use Xero or QuickBooks, for instance. It's not an easy process, and most of it falls in your lap to actually make it happen, rather than the likes of Xero and QuickBooks. Yes, they'll have their videos and what have you to support, but generally they're expecting you to do the education process with your clients. And that's a problem when time is short and clients are unwilling to pay. What we're now seeing is companies like Kaneo's coming onto the marketplace. And I think I met Kaneo, I think it was probably Accountex year before last. Let's go back a little bit now.
Yeah, I think so.
And so we now have small, very adaptable, very versatile companies coming into the marketplace with smart ideas, and we're no longer stuck with just dealing with the oil tankers that we've had in the past. We can go to the likes of Kaneo and go, look, we'd like to, this is what we think about doing in our firm. Can you help us? And the answer is, yeah, we can do that. With the way that API has moved, with now the way that AI is coming into place, we can utilize contractors out in the Southeast Asia, for instance, or in India. We no longer are just subject to waiting for Iris to tell us what to do next. And I think that is a massive, massive change and a huge opportunity for small firms like ourselves. If we can be, we no longer are stuck to which is the big bit of software I need to go out and build. I'm not suggesting you all need to go out and change it, tax compliance software and all the rest of it, but I think that we can be much more in control of how we use our tech going forward, because we can work with companies who are now much more versatile and understand our own individual businesses much, much better. We don't have to fit the format that the big guys have always wanted us to fit in. That's a personal view, but I'm seeing it, with the sort of companies that we look at, because they're companies that we want to work with. We work with firms like you guys, small independent firms. You want to have that. One of your strengths is your versatility, your freedom, your adaptability. The tech company needs to stay up with that, needs to keep up with that pace. They've let us down in the past. We can't just press a button and get the process done. And I think there's an opportunity now to find different vendors, different partners who can work with us on those sorts of things. Team I've covered, and particularly, our team have different ambitions these days. We're talking different generations. They don't necessarily want a 40-year career in accounting. They see their work, their employment in a different way. I'm not being negative at all. I think there's some fantastic opportunities with young people coming into the profession, but we need to recognise that they're not necessarily the same as people of my generation. They don't, it's not. They don't want that career path. They don't necessarily want to be a partner, a director. But what they do want to have is a job that interests them, that excites them, that they can engage with, that they can develop and learn. And I think that's, we need to think very carefully about how we work with our teams going forward, because again, they're different people, think in different ways. That's a good thing, and we need to utilise those strengths accordingly. And most importantly, ourselves. I talked about COVID. We've all had a good rethink on life, with our experiences around that time and since then. Increasingly, and again looking on the screen now, there's young people coming into the profession, running their own businesses. We don't want to think the same things that when I'll go back to people of my generation and those before. It's life is different now. People want different things. It's very important that your firm reflects the things that you want to do and you want to get involved with. and doesn't just fit that box that has accountant stamped on the outside. It's your firm. Do what the hell you like with it. Is the phrase that I will always use, and we'll come on to that very quickly now. So on that basis, let's think about where we are, regardless of when you started your business, be it a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 50 years ago, it doesn't matter. The world we live in today has fundamentally changed, and that's not stopping. Politically, with if you look at Trump in the States, if you change of government here, if you look at society in general, the shift to the right in areas, there's so much happening in the world today, and that's all driven by people. Tech makes it have a bigger impact, but it's people who are doing this. When you look at yourself, your friends, your family, the people you know, the towns that you live in, society has changed, the world has changed, and it's not just because of tech. It's because the people, human side of the world is changing as well. So we can't just keep on doing things the way we've always done them. In the way that people generally have grown accounting firms and improved accounting firms is to look at what they did yesterday and said, okay, how can we improve on that today so that tomorrow's better? That's always worked for us in the past. The pace of change is so quick now that sometimes yesterday is irrelevant. And I think it's very important that on a fairly regular basis, we sit down with a blank piece of paper, if it's not too old-fashioned a term, and go, okay, if I was starting my firm today, what would I be doing different? Because that approach can help you reshape the decisions that you make going forward. We do flog an awful lot of dead horses in the accounting profession. We try and fix an awful lot of stuff, and I think it's partly training, it's partly because that's how accountants work. That's what we've always done. But to go, do you know what? This is my firm. I can do what the hell I like with it. If I want to do something different tomorrow, I'm going to do that. If I want to get into a different market, if I want to try a different service, if I want to drop a service, if I want to get rid of some clients, if I want whatever I want to do, I can do it because it's my firm. You all have your own professional, legal, ethical, moral framework. So that's going to keep you in place. We're not talking about doing anything here where you're going to break the law or what have you. But I think it's really important to recognise that the pace of change isn't just outside. It's not everybody else. Our own businesses can change rapidly if we want them to. So I talk about this being basic groundwork, and I just think it's a great exercise to do, to forget what you've been trying to do, to forget what you were doing yesterday, to forget the route that you've gone and all of the stresses, the frustrations, the pressures that brings, and go, hang on, let's just take a step back from this. What do I actually want to be? What sort of accountant do I want to be? What sort of firm do I want to have? Because that could be different in terms of the answer to when you asked yourself that question 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago. You can be whatever sort of firm you want to be. And until you've got that clear in your own mind, the tech that you use, the people that you use is a bit irrelevant because we don't know what's going to fit. Starting point has got to be what I want to be. What do I want my firm to be? Do I want to be a boutique firm? Do I want to be a purely online firm? Do I want to be a firm that specializes in certain marketplaces? Do I want to be a firm that is technically outstanding? Do I want to be a firm that is focused on helping clients grow their business? Do I want to be a firm that is has a role in my community? Do I want to be a global? Whatever you want to be, you can be, but you need to be clear in your own mind, first of all, of what you want to be. Don't draw yourself back with the how. Don't start thinking, well, that'd be great, but how the hell do I do it? That's the next challenge. Your starting point has got to be, I know what I want to be. I know what sort of firm I want. Not what sort of firm everybody else tells me I should have. Not what sort of firm I see everywhere else. This is the firm that I want because it fits with what I want to do. Then you can start to think about what your priorities are. I've put this thing here about the barrier of the £1 million firm because I see so many conversations around the £1 million firm as if it's some sort of measure of success. I know firms who are, I can think of directors who are, comfortably in excess of £1 million GRF and are definitely not happy with it, definitely frustrated, definitely stressed out, definitely not having the role and the job and the enjoyment they wanted. And I can think of people who have got GRF of 80,000 a year, 90,000 a year, 100,000 a year, and could not be happier because it's a perfect fit for them and their life and what they want to do. The £1 million firm is one of these myths that's been built up by the accounting profession and to be, by people who do what I do over a long time now. Your target level of turnover should be the one that fits your own vision. Don't think that because you're only turning over 100,000 and that firm's turning over 1 million that they are a better firm than you, because quite simply they're not. What you do need is to have that target in mind, and I don't mean the million, but whatever your figure is, whether it be turnover, whether it be number of clients, whether it be profit, whether it be financial rewards that you get, your team, whatever it may be, make sure you know what it is and make sure that you have a way of tracking it. Because one of the reasons that we do get stressed out, one of the reasons where we do end up with almost like an imposter syndrome, is because we don't give ourselves credit for the successes that we have. When we do something right, we tick the box and move straight on. When we do something wrong, we spend an eternity stressing over it and frustrating over it. So when we've had a good year, quite often what happens at the end of the year, I'll talk to the accountant and they'll talk about the things that they've still not done. We need to flip it around and go, yeah, but you hit that target, you achieved that, you did that, you brought in that number of clients, whatever it may be. So you have to track your matrix as much as anything else to see the progress that you're making. Accounting firms tend to make progress every single day without realizing it. This for me then, so these I mentioned these are a big turn. This is the first one for me, resetting the client management. This is so important. I had I spoke to a firm that we work with that actually Canary works with as well the other day, and she was talking about her clients with LTD. It's in mind next year. Her view on client data: clients who don't take their data seriously will no longer be clients. And she used the phrase, "It's non-negotiable." Clients work with us to make sure they've got efficient, effective data systems. Otherwise, they're not clients. Now, we had the phrase, didn't we, incomplete records, and we've always worked on trying to sort out client messes and all the rest of it. And if a client is prepared to work with us on that, that's great. But if clients are pushing back still on fundamentals like the timely accuracy of their data, that's a non-negotiable. They can't be client. So going back to what I said earlier about your firm, you can do what you like with it. This starting point is, what are our rules? I quite like the idea, of the client charter, of sitting down and going, okay, this is what we will do for our clients, but in return, this is what we expect from our clients. And you send that out to every client and the client that signs up to it. The balance between the accountant and the client has always been out of balance. We've generally had more of a master-servant relationship, with us responding to the needs of the client, us sorting the client's problems out. It won't work. It doesn't work in the current age. All you can do is create a firm, create service lines that you think are best for you and for your clients, create a way of doing that, and then go to the clients and say, this is how it's going to work. This is how we do it. This is how it works. If we do this and if you do this, it's going to be great for both of us. But if they're not prepared to work with you on that, now is the time in 2025 to go, okay, right, it doesn't work with this client. And I get that can have a cash flow implication in the short term. You can get rid of them to your own time scale for start off. But critically, it frees up time. And if you're going to move your firm forward and grow your firm forward, the thing you need more than anything is time. And working with the right clients the right way is how you create time. So thinking about your client charter, looking back at your engagement letters, your terms and conditions. The professional bodies generally are happy talking about terms and conditions rather than engagement letters, or as well as engagement letters these days. Are they fit for purpose? Do they reflect how you want to work with your clients? Do they reflect the promises that you make to your clients? And do they reflect the way that you require your clients to work with you? Your firm, your rules. The right team members, the right clients will fully engage with that. If people don't engage, if people don't want to work your way, it's better to find out sooner rather than later, because it's only become more and more of a problem as time goes by. So let's pick up on this one then. I've pulled all of that together. That really is trying to set the piece and set the mindset where we are today, the opportunity that you have. You know, we are in a scary world, but scary worlds always means there's loads of opportunities. Let's talk a bit more about the how now, and this balance between the tech and the human, because that's what this comes down to. I talk a lot about this analogy, the restaurant analogy. If you think of a good quality restaurant that you go into, then there are two elements to it. You have the kitchen, the back office, if you like. Now, in any account, you watch the programs on TV with Gordon Ramsay and all the rest of them. Then the kitchen is a demon of a place to work for a start off. But they face the same challenges as us. They've got differing client customer requirements. They have standards that they have to maintain. They work to deadline. Their delivery has to be on point. They need different skill sets and services pulling together quite often to deliver that one plate. So there is a real similarity between the kitchen and the production unit, the back office in our own firms. And they take one set of skills. You need people in those areas who can manage the challenge, manage the stress, who can follow orders, follow instructions, who can deliver things on time to the right quality, and who can take a pride in that quality. So there's a skill set that's required there. Now let's flip it to the front of the restaurant, the front of house. In our case, the client service, the client relationship. Here the skill set is different, because here we're looking at people who can keep the clients happy, keep the customers happy, who have the opportunity to create that sense of well-being and control, who make sure that everything is working as it should do, make sure that the client doesn't have any issues, who have the opportunity to upsell, the opportunity to deliver to sell higher valued, an extra course, a more expensive bottle of wine, whatever it may be. Their focus is different to the kitchen. The focus on the kitchen is delivery. The focus front of house is essentially client service, client satisfaction. And I think that fits really nicely with an accounting firm. Sometimes we can get sucked into this, everyone doing this, we're all accountants, we're all doing, let's just get on with it. But actually, when you look at your firm, you will have people with different skill sets. And it's interesting to go, okay, right, well, are we using those skill sets in the right way? Are we using those people in the right way? Is this where our gap is? Do we need to bring in some more resource to do the production side of things? Do we have the right skill set when it comes to keeping clients happy? You need both of these. If you're going to be successful in business, we need to make sure that both sides of our business is working from that point of view. So this is how I see the structure of an accounting firm when it comes to that surface. So at the foundation of everything we do is that non-negotiable data. The reason why our compliance has always been a challenge is because our data hasn't been nailed on. If you imagine if every one of your clients had good systems, accurate systems, and they brought it in on time, using the right systems, your compliance would be dead easy. We are getting very close to push button compliance then. We've focused a lot on trying to sort out our compliance processes, but we haven't nailed this data one, and we're at the point now where it is non-negotiable. If you've got a client who doesn't take their data seriously, why would you want them as a client? In the world that we live in, everybody should understand the value of data these days, and just the importance to their own lives, their own personal finances, their own business, let alone what they need to supply their accountants to do the compliance. So we get the data right first and foremost. We don't move on until that's sorted with the client. That makes the compliance straightforward. The compliance is where we build the trust with the client, and that gives us the opportunity for some of those clients to sell further financial management services. So things we're good at as accountants, forecasts and budgets and cash flows and management accounts and what have you, things they expect from their accountant. And for some, we can grow from that into the full advisory. So whatever that may be, whatever it is that you switch into, but whether it be wealth management, whether it be strategic planning, whether it be succession planning, whatever that may be, and this fits into the sort of firm that you want to be in, where your own interests lie. But it's the pinnacle of what we do. There is this talk, so much talk about compliance or advisory. Personally, I think it all grows from the compliance. And that, of course, can only be done with effective data. So if we look then at where our systems, this is where the tech sits in, because from in the world we live in today, you have to have clients with digital bookkeeping records. The automated reconciliation and the automated repetitive tasks, this is where opportunity lies, particularly I think for the smaller firms. This is, to give him a plug, this is where Kaneo's team come in, because we know that recruitment's a challenge, we know that time's a challenge. The more that we can take the stuff that is, I'll call it the dull, boring stuff, but the more we can take that repetitive stuff and automate it, have it done overnight, move towards a 24-hour, 365-day firm, that's where you start to drive the efficiencies in. And that's not of course, Xero, QuickBooks, part of this equation, but I think increasingly this is where these small, adaptable fintech vendors like Kaneo's company come in and go, okay, let's have a conversation about what we're doing and how you guys can help us to essentially replace that and make it more tech driven. I'll come to the people side in a minute. Our compliance has been tech driven for years. This should be this should be a no-brainer. This is the area that accountants have generally focused on when it comes to our tech. So that should already be in place and working live. But there are still opportunities for elements of it to be automated. So again, there's a conversation about what are we repeating here? How can we improve the interactions? How can we stop ourselves double keying, for instance? That fits all accounting firms, those data and compliance pieces with the tech. And generally, the second one is where we're generally pretty good at the moment. The first one, where the data side, we've been good at the basics, but there's certainly more scope. When we look at the financial management, I generally would put it into three areas. One is your practice management system. Your practice management system should be capable of showing you which clients would benefit from the wider financial management services that you can do. One of the areas that I focus on is on practice management systems, because practice management systems have tended to focus on workflow. And whilst workflow is important, what matters more is that you're getting the information that tells you what's happening within your own business. And this isn't about timesheets, it is about time management, but it's not about necessarily keeping old-fashioned timesheets. But you do need to know where your resources are going, where your time is going, which clients are making you money and which aren't, which services are making you money and which aren't, which team members are making you money and which aren't. What are the differences between the clients? So software like Komozo, for instance, is one of the latest players in this, where you're looking at what I would call practice performance software as opposed to just practice management software. But it's critical that you have information on your own business, because that's going to help you identify the clients where you can go, okay, here's a client where we can start to sell these reports. Here's a client where we can start to, we should be doing more work with in terms of cash flow forecasts. And of course, that rolls on to the highest level as well. Again, because advisory isn't for all clients. So not only which clients should we be doing this sort of work with, but how are we going to do it? What tools are out there to help us deliver this sort of information? If you've got things like VFD or the Gap or things like the tools like that, which will back you up. So advisory isn't just a matter of you just diving in and trying to do it off your own back. In the same way that we can use tech to deliver and support us in each of these groups, it can work from an advisory point of view as well. Now, the thing here is that this is what our teams used to do. Certainly those first two, our teams were doing the bookkeeping, our teams were doing the compliance work, our teams were getting involved. Generally, the directors, the partners were the ones who were looking to sell these further services, but our teams were doing the work. So what are our teams doing now? I think they're still involved in production. Well, they are still involved in production, but as production becomes more and more tech-driven and automated, so that role is going to change. Don't get me wrong, it's still really important that people come into our profession learn the basics, learn how to ride the bike before we go on to the tricks. But we have to recognise the fact that in the world we live in today, to have people sitting there doing all of our bookkeeping, doing all of our bank recs, putting together the accounts, doing all of the final adjustments, it is not commercially viable and it takes too long. It won't fit the marketplace today. What we do have is a team with a huge amount of those skills who can focus more and more on managing the process. So I think we're moving quite quickly now away from our team being fundamentally producers to our team being client managers, system managers, process managers, quality control, applying the experience and the expertise to look at something that the tech has produced and going, does that look right? You know, where are the areas that we need to focus on? Where are the areas we need to double check? That quality, that whole quality control side of thing, I think is something that is going to become more and more the role of the team members. If you can imagine your team members almost split into two. On the one hand, you've got what I call, we see the phrase client manager being used a lot more now. So on the one hand, it's the client managers, making sure that the data's been done right, making sure that things come in on time, making sure that the relationships with the clients are tight. And on the other hand, we've got the technical side, the technical skills, the quality control skills. So it's different. That phrase of number crunchers is going to be long dead by the time we've got to the end of 2025. So I think this is an important conversation to be having with the team, because on the one hand, we want them to have the skills. So the training, the development from that point of view is really important. Whereas in the past, the training has been focused on essentially doing the job of putting together a set of accounts or a tax return, I think it's different now. I think it's about training the levels of experience and expertise in a different way, because we have to accept that tech is taking over a lot of those standard tasks, those repetitive tasks. Personally, I think that's great. I've always thought that side of the job was boring. I want to be in front of clients. I want to be doing the stuff here where we're engaging in different sorts of conversations. But I accept, we do have to have those skills in place first of all. But we can learn those skills without sitting doing boring bank recs every day of the week. Linking onto that, and this is the last thing I wanted to cover before we go on to any questions that you may have. This whole conversation around in-house or do we contract out, and I think most firms now are quite used to contracting out, to using offshore work and outsourcing, etc. Excuse me. But I think this is a reminder as much as anything else. Based on what I was saying, I think production, we've got to look at how we do our production. Are we making the most effective use of our in-house team? And what can we either get the tech to do or pass out, contract out? Because our tech team, the human side is so important to us these days, and that's what our internal team is strong at. There is a lot of push now to try to make accountants something that they're not. You will see it. You'll have had it yourself. Lots and lots of conversations, lots and lots of webinars, lots and lots of stuff on LinkedIn about how you should be using your CRM systems to do your marketing, about how you should be applying digital marketing, about how you should be utilizing AI, for instance. For me, the issue with this is always the same. We are fundamentally accountants running accounting businesses. We're not marketeers. We're not tech people. We may have some skills in those areas, but that isn't our core business. Yes, of course, our businesses have to have marketing skills. Our kit businesses have to be tech aware and tech developed. But I think it's very careful that we don't get pushed away from our core business and our core skills. So I'm very much in favour of, okay, you need a marketing campaign, go and talk to a marketer. Go and talk to someone who's local to you or you have a relationship with. They're good at what they do. We're good at what we do. If they understand our business, which they need to, then surely we're better off focusing our talents on what we do and getting them to deliver the best possible service for us. Same applies to our vendors, tech vendors, as I was saying earlier. I think we've been pushed about too much. We need to stand at the ground now and go, look, no, I'm the customer. This is your problem. This is what I want from you. But I'm not going to do it. All the time we're supposed to spend trying to educate our clients, educate our team on new systems, new processes, understand new CRM systems, understand digital marketing. No. I want digital marketing in our business, but you guys can do it. I'll pay to do it, but you guys can do it because my time is better spent focused on what I do, which is being an accountant. Very quick summary, visions and goals, go back to basics, make sure you understand what you want to be, put in place what you think is a plan for that you can monitor, that you can benchmark. Like I say, don't worry about the how. The how comes through conversations and all the rest of it. Think about how your team and your tech work together. Think about that interface. Think about who the right sort of clients are for you and the services that you want to be focused on as clients. And when it comes to growth, to be honest, if you get those first four right, growth comes anyway. But if you're going to do growth, then think about what the strategy is. How am I going to do it? How am I going to utilize external resources that are available to me to grow the business? That's me. We do a podcast, the Balanced Mind podcast with the awesome Kim Searle. So if you want more of these sorts of conversations, by all means, it's on all of the usual podcast platforms. So you're welcome to type in that. And my contact details are here. I write a blog on LinkedIn, Accountant on a Mission, if you want to track me down there as well. But other than that, let me hand back to Kaneo and see if we have any questions or thoughts. I've overrun by about 5 minutes, which is disappointing because I don't normally, but this is one of those things where it's been a hobby horse for me.
Thanks a lot, Richard. It's been, I don't know, probably speak for everyone, but I think it's been really insightful for me. And I'm not an accountant. You've touched upon a lot of different things.
Thank you.
But we do have a few questions. I'll open up to the floor. I've asked people, there are a few questions here. We can't cover everything, so if we need to, we'll have another session. But
yeah,
thank you so much for that. The first question that we have, I think you've touched upon it already, is around. So we talked about vision and goal. But I think the first question I was going to ask is, so how can I know, as an accounting firm, how can I know whether or not my current business model can actually scale? What are the things that I need to be looking out for? What would be your advice?
I think that first of all, it's important not to get too quickly into the how. But let's assume that you know what it is that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
If we're being realistic, we all start from where we are right now. I see so many firms delay their progression because they're hoping to get to a point where they can start. We'll do it later in the year when we've got more time. We'll do it when we've got more money. We'll do it when we've got that new team member on board. The reality is that we are where we are. And so once you've got that end point in mind, once you understand your vision and where you're trying to get to, then by all means, look at the aspects that are going to make a difference. So maybe you need to recruit somebody with a different skill set. Maybe you need to move to a different office. Maybe you need to create a new service or get rid of some clients, for instance. Identify those, then sit down and go, okay, let's now look at what we've got today. Let's look at where we are today. What are the gaps? What are the holes? Have I a plan for filling those? And what can I start on right now? So where's the low-hanging fruit? What's like, for instance, one of the routes I would always suggest is to get rid of what I refer to as D clients. So we all have them, those clients where we're not making any money, where we don't like working with them, but they seem to dominate our time. And we have to recognize that unless we remove those, they are always going to be a massive barrier to our progression. So think about, okay, I'm committed. I'm going to remove that client. Now, when is the best time for me to remove them? Let's wait until we've done that piece of work and they've paid that bill, for instance. Or let's wait until we've got a new client in and then I'll swap them with the old client. You don't have to cut your nose off. But I think it's recognizing that once you've got that vision in mind, that plan in mind, to sit down and go, this is where I am today. The thing, we can get very bogged down by this thought of business models. Yeah, the reality is that, yes, I mean, like I showed you that triangle there are some core things within it, but fundamentally, every single business is different. Every life is different. Yeah, so therefore, let's not worry. Once you know where you're trying to go, once you've then gone, look, now let's make sure we fully understand where we are today, because where we are is where we are. It might not be where we want to be, but it is where we are. So how do we now start to make changes to where we are today that are consistent with where that end game is that we want to reach to?
Awesome. That makes sense. And I think, again, just following up on that, one of the things that you mentioned is the whole idea of people getting stuck, fixated with the idea of building a £1 million firm. And then you get into that point, and then suddenly you find out that you're not as happy as you thought you would be. So I'm thinking perhaps it has to do, in some ways, to do with the systems that they build along the way, or not having built the systems, along the way. So because if you think about the way I look at it, maybe it's because of my tech background, but I look at things from a system standpoint. So everything is a system. You have an operations system, you have a marketing system, you have a billing system, so do you think it has to do with the maturity of the systems that they have in place as they're planning that? Again, it goes back to having that vision and then having a plan of action and understanding that you need to have systems in place to be able to scale appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, the way that accountants grew their firms was to employ more people. You employ more people, you've got more people to do the work, but B, you've got more chargeable hours and therefore a higher GRF. That was the way that it's worked for 500 years. That is a model that doesn't work these days. Because it's very hard to recruit the right people and very expensive to recruit the right people. I'm sounding anti-team. I'm not. Teams are massively important, but the reality is that the firms that used to employ 30, 40 people now probably employ less than 10, because and that's because of the systems. So we have to be. It goes back to sort of what firm you want to be. For me, as I've already hinted, I wanted a firm where I could have time talking to my clients. So therefore, anything that was stopping me doing that, I needed to find a solution to. And inevitably, that is a system. Whether it's manual or digital or whatever, it's almost irrelevant. Here's something. What you should do is look at how you spend your time and go, right, first of all, what are the things that I've got to be doing? What are the things where it needs to be the boss, needs to be that person with that level of experience or expertise? So those things I've got to do. What are the things that I want to be doing? What are the what's the work I want to be doing? What are the clients I want to be spending my time with? Right, that's what matters, those two. Everything else that I'm doing, I need to either ditch, delegate, or find a system to do it for me. And focus on that, because it is all about freeing up time. The biggest single change for me from a business point of view, I spent years chasing growing GRF, and building accounting firms that look great on paper and were showing spectacular growth, but were doing my head in, frustrating me, and we weren't getting the holidays we wanted and all the rest of it. One day we said this isn't what the vision was. This isn't the plan. This was 13 years down the line. It took a while to work it out. And we sat down and said, right, we need to create some new rules here. And the number one rule that we came up with, we will only work with people who we enjoy working with. Because if we're happy and the client's happy, we reckon that everything else will take care of itself, the profit and all that. And sure enough, surprise, surprise, it does. Wow. So by stopping going down the standard route of trying to get more clients, and instead, why don't we just focus on having days that we enjoy? It's enabled us to change our decision making. And from that way on, oddly enough, we systemized the hell out of our back office there, the kitchen, if you like, systemized the hell out of it. Because I didn't want to be doing that stuff. I just needed the information in front of me so I could talk to the client.
Yeah. So systems is great. And then, so where do you see automation and guys like us, Synergy, what role do you think we could play in helping small firms to punch above their weight?
And I think it's massive, and I'm not just saying that because we're on this call. I mean, that's one reason why you and I started talking in the first place. Yeah, the strength small firms have is in their human face and in their relationship with their clients and how close they can be to their clients and how they can adapt their businesses very, very quickly. So it's really important that that's what we're able to focus on. And I think where, like I said before, we've been held back for so many years because the tech companies were just too big an oil tanker for us to make them really fit how we wanted it to work. As I see it, automation comes into that gap that's always been there. If we want to personalize our firms, I think it's firms like Synergy that help us do that. So yes, we can talk about you deliver phenomenal efficiencies. I'm seeing that all the time now. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who's using it. The way that you can free up time in the business, find 10 hours, 20, 30 hours a week is phenomenal. That's great. And that drives the profit. And that means that we can grow because we've got more time and our team have got more time. But it's even more important, I think, is the way that it enables us to focus more on the human side of the firm. Because we take the core tech, our compliance systems, our CRM systems, and all the rest of it. That's that's the big stuff. That will be bolted into most firms, but it doesn't. It only does part of the job that we want it to do. And we've learned over the years that trying to train up or whatever to do the rest of it, it's just too hard. It's not adaptable. What Synergy brings is adaptability to how we work. So, if I was a customer review now, I'd be a pain in the neck because I'd be on the phone every week to you, going, "What else can we do? What else can we do? We want to do this. Is that something you can help us with?" That's how I would see the relationship. Because I know already you understand the firms. So I'd be picking up the phone and go, "I've got an issue here. Is there do you reckon there's any way that we could digitize that or automate that?" And you're either going to go, "No, it's a pipe dream," or you're going to go, "Yeah, I think we can help you with that." So it's that you can't get that from the big boys. You can't get that versatility and that close relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, I think he's understanding as well that unlike 10 years ago, there's tech today that is, like you said, adaptable. So it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. If you think of any task within the firm that is repeatable, that is rules based, essentially is instruction led, something that you can show a 15-year-old how to do,
Yeah.
that is most likely a candidate for automation.
Yeah. And we talked about the skills that are coming into accounting firms these days. Young people are coming in with these skills already embedded in them. They look for these sorts of solutions. They want the easy way to do things. And I'm not saying that in a critical way at all, because that's exactly what we should all be looking for. I've always said that one of my fundamental strengths in business is I'm essentially lazy. So if I can find an easy way to do it, I'll do it. And actually, surprise, surprise, that works quite well from a business point of view. And now we have guys like yourself and systems and those skills are available to us, whereas 5 years ago they weren't available to us. To bring in that sort of adaptability, you had to be prepared to invest a huge amount of time and money to create something tailored to your business. And that's where we struggled. We had to buy these standard off-the-shelf solutions, which worked to a point but weren't perfect. Now we can tailor it, and I think that's really exciting.
So thanks a lot, Richard. We are 3 minutes past the hour. I don't know if we have time for one more question.
I'm happy to, if people are happy to stay on or cat through going.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm going to swing over to marketing a little because I heard what you talked about and the need to outsource. So, and I know that marketing is an area where, like you said, so we're accountants, not marketeers. Now, the big challenge with marketing that I find is the fact that it feels a bit of a black hole, if you know what I mean. So you can put a lot of money into it and not get anything from it. So I'm wondering, from your experience, how if a firm was going to contract out their marketing activity, what are some of the things that they need to be looking out for in a partner? What are the kind of things that they need to be doing so they're not wasting time and money?
I think, first of all, the most important thing to remember is that the best two sources of new business for accountants are still referrals and networking. And so, there is this swing back to the old way of doing things, which is good. So it's important to make sure that we're aware of that we're thinking about referrals, and we're active on a networking point of view. From a marketing perspective, that means that I need to be confident that my brand, my external presence reflects the right message, reflects the values and the vision and the goals that I have. So from the starting point is always to look at your visible face, your website, your offices, whatever it may be, and go, is this really us? Does this really represent us? And that's where they can help. Then, yes, I'm not saying we ignore digital marketing, we ignore email campaigns, whatever they may be. They have a place, and this is where I think we do then need those skills. But the starting point for me is that they are showing a real interest in your business, a real understanding of your business. They're helping you to better define what your business is all about, what your target market is. The ones that I switch off from are those that come in and say, we have a marketing system, we have a way of doing it, we've done this with hundreds of accountants, we can do it with you. I'm like, that's not, I don't want a marketing system. The reason I work with Caneo is because Caneo understands my business and works with what I want to achieve. I want to work with a marketing person who understands my business and works with what I want to achieve. So in the same way that with your clients, the relationship is the most important thing, I think it's exactly the same whether we're talking about a marketing advisor or an HR advisor or an IT advisor, whatever it may be. I want them, if I don't feel that they are a partner in my business, then they're not the right people.
Oh, awesome. Okay, that's must be really powerful there. So make sure that they understand, they're almost like an extension of your firm. So the systems that they bring in, the expertise that they bring in is secondary. It's more taking the time to understand where you're going so that they can advise on how best to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they don't have to be, I mean, I work with some outside externals who are in the same town as me. One of the firms that we've worked with for a long, long time in terms of our marketing is based in Australia. The technology allows us to work with anybody in the world. The reality, but the thing is, they get us. They absolutely get us. And we can have those we have great conversations that you get excited about. Business should be exciting. It should be fun. It should be, we need to embrace all those aspects of it.
Absolutely. And then you can always layer on it automation. So if you're talking about existing, so you're thinking of your clients today and they being the best ways to get new clients.
Yeah.
So you're talking about referrals from them.
Yeah.
Which means that you have to find ways of engaging with them on a consistent basis.
That's the thing. A, recognise that referrals are massively important. Then I'd be talking to my marketing guy about, look, I want a referral system to back it up. Because we all know if we just leave it for us to ask the question, it doesn't get asked. So, use their marketing expertise to go, okay, we're going to do referrals and we're going to focus on this particular group of clients, our A clients, for instance. So let's now put in place a system that means that I'm going to do it, that my team are going to do it, that there's something that supports it on the website, that maybe we've got some backup email. So that's the marketing bit. That's where they bring their skills in to do it. The same if we're looking at networking. Okay, yes, okay, I understand I'm going to have to go out there and do a bit of networking. Which ones am I going to enjoy? What sort of networking do I enjoy? Who do I want to talk to? But also, what's my system for setting that up? What's my system for following it up? What's my system for booking it? All that sort of thing. It's everything we do now. We need to look at what's the human element and how do we back that up with the system.
That's awesome. So again, that's human and technology coming together, creating that fusion that will help to.
Yeah, we're waiting for technology to solve our problems, and it won't. It's people who make the difference. It's people who change things. Technology can make it easier for us. Because it can take out a lot of the manual process. It can give us better access to data and all the rest of it. But it's the people who are the important part of this. We use technology, not the other way around.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I'm going to stop on that nodes, because ultimately, for me, what I've always believed and understood from a technology standpoint, having worked in technology for a long time, is that technology should be an enabler.
Yeah.
It is an enabler. It shouldn't be the one driving your strategy. It should be supporting your strategy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much, Richard. It's been amazing. I think we're going to have another session, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
And
me.
to everybody, yeah, you're welcome. And to everybody that's been here, or if you're listening, if you need further advice, if you need anything, definitely Richard is your man. Have a session. Richard, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you offer free consultation? I think you mentioned there's an.
Yeah, I'm very weird. I enjoy talking to accountants. So if anybody wants to chat at any stage, because I'm always interested in what people are doing anyway. Always very happy to have a chat. Just set them online and we can have a conversation. If something comes out of it, great. If it doesn't, great. But I'm very happy to have conversations.
Fantastic. There you have it. So, guys, I'll put Richard's detail. We all have his details, but I'll put it in the email that go out to everybody just in case you need to get in touch. That'll be great. And until next time, let's wishing you guys a lovely rest of the day and week wherever you are. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
See you, Richard. Bye.